Today we're going to be recapping my top moments from 2025 when I visited Honduras. Let's have a look at some of those best moments next. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ian, I'm known as WanderBeard around these parts. And as I said, I'm recapping my favorite moments from Honduras in 2025. So this year I spent about a month in total in Honduras. I traveled to 7 different cities across the country and had an amazing time. I don't think Honduras is on a lot of people's lists for places to visit or to explore, and I am here to tell you that that should change. I initially, like most people, had some reservations about the country, knowing the history about the country. However, I don't feel any of it is justified. I visited, like I said, 7 places, pretty wide swath across the country. I went to the capital city, I went to some other big cities, went to some smaller towns, and everywhere I went, it was the same thing. Wonderful people, lots of history, and just a generally great vibe when I would talk to people and just kind of go and explore. So if you're new to my channel, just a quick recap. In 2025, I traveled to 7 different countries. We've already previously talked about Mexico and Belize and 2 parts on Guatemala. We talked about El Salvador, and today we are here about Honduras. And coming up next, we will have recaps for Nicaragua and Costa Rica. Over that span of the month, visiting the 7 different places, I made a total of 11 different videos from Honduras, and so I feel like it was a really great exploration of all facets of the country. So without further ado, let's get right into the list, and we're beginning with my honorable mention position. So in the honorable mention position, we have the House of Culture in La Esperanza. So La Esperanza was actually a last-minute addition to my travel plans for Honduras. I was planning on going directly to the capital, and after spending some time at Lake Yohoa and learning about the Lenca people, I wanted to learn more. So I went and spent some time in La Esperanza, wandering around the city. Beautiful city, just breathtaking, some spots that they had there. And one of my favorite places was actually the House of Culture. This was a place in the middle of the city that allowed for arts and culture programs, painters, all this kinds of things, all to thrive in the city. I had a really wonderful time there. Let's have a look at some of the clips from the House of Culture in La Esperanza. Good morning, here from my final morning in La Esperanza. I've made it over to the Casa de la Cultura here in the city. Down in that room is the Lenca Interpretation Center, which has a little bit of a museum and stuff in it as well for the Lenca. And we're going to take a walk around and go down. There's a bunch of photos and stuff here from the city from, back as far as 70, 80 years ago. They also have a room here for doing art. When I originally came to La Esperanza in this part of Honduras, this was all about trying to learn a bit more about the Lenca people. And I think I've done a pretty good job of that with some of the aspects here and kind of understanding how it's different from the grand Mayan empire that we've seen throughout other countries. The Lenca were a much smaller group, but their history is still quite strong here today, and their culture remains quite strong here today too. So you can see this whole area is just surrounded with different types of art, and there's pottery here, and there's some clay work here, which is really cool. I really like this candle holder / incense. So there's some photographs here of the city, both of Intibuca and La Esperanza, and some of them date back quite far. Here's in 1936. Semana Santa, 1954, here in La Esperanza. Here's an example of a typical house in Yamarangila, which is just sort of the next village over from here. So this is much more than just a house with some photos in it. This is sort of the cultural center for a lot of the city of La Esperanza and Intibuca. They have different rooms here set up for different things. For example, here they have a music and theater room for practicing that. They have one here for costume design, and they also have one down here for art.
son sellos corporales.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
¿Verdad? It's
Yep, for like a tattoo.
like tattoo.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool.
Esa no. Esta es una máscara del Huancasco de los Lencas.
Wow.
De los Lencas Cares. Está hecha en madera.
Here at the cultural center, there's actually a little museum set up here, and they have some original artifacts of the Lenca. It's one of the very few places in the world where you can actually come to see artifacts of the actual Lenca people. We were having a conversation before I turned the camera on, talking about the overlap between the Lenca and the Maya, and how much longer the Lenca were here. He believes it's thousands of years the Lenca existed in this area before the Maya ever came along. Hola.
Hacemos arte, dibujo.
Yeah, yeah. Muy bonito. To have a look at some of the different art that's in here and that's being produced. Some of it obviously influential with the history of the Maya, with the Lenca, and then the history of the battles and stuff in the area, and then more modern contemporary art as well. So anyway, I just had a quick chat there. That was Roy that I was speaking to in the museum, and this is a great spot. So it's such a great way to maintain the history and the culture of the Lenca here in La Esperanza. And I really hope you come by and check it out because it's pretty awesome. In the number 5 spot, we have the Eco Park at Lake Yohoa. So again, I was in this sort of region for about 2 weeks in total, I would say. And one of my favorite stops was taking a walk through the Eco Park that they had there. This was a federally controlled park that had lots of history in it, some beautiful views, and some very, very old ruins that date back to pre-Maya, to the Lenca people, which is sort of where I sort of got interested in learning more about them. But the park was beautiful. It was just a wonderful time. And let's have a look at some of the clips from spot number 5, the Eco Park at Lake Yohoa. The entrance to the park is just right here. All right, so we are in. The ticket was for international tourists is $10 US or 260 lempira, which is roughly the exchange rate. So that's fine. Everyone charges like 26 lempira for a US dollar. So that's about right. I know for locals, it's only 60. Buenos dias. So, it's a much better deal for locals, of course, which I fully support. It's good that they offer a discount so that locals can get in, or they charge us more, which is also fine because we are just visiting after all. He said to do the whole circuit throughout the entire park is about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So if you're coming to the Eco Park here, I definitely recommend make sure you bring lots of water, some good shoes, of course, lots of bug spray, a big floppy hat. And if you didn't bring water, there's actually a little shop here before you go across this bridge into the park. This is actually goes over the canal, which we'll have a look at here in a second, where everyone kayaks. So this is the canal that runs from the town of Las Naranjos all the way out to the lake, which you can just see up ahead there through the break. What a spot. Holy smokes. You can see all the people going down on the kayaks, and we're heading this way into the park. So your first fork in the road is to go this way for the archaeological ruins, or to head this way into the rest of the park. But we're going to go up and take a look at the ruins first. So we're just coming up into the archaeological site here. And as you can see, it has not been, dug up or restored in really any way. This is structure 4 and is a ramp covered with round stones and has an altar at the base with holes in it for offerings. It was actually made out of adobe, which is blocks of soil that were dried in the sun. So that in and of itself is already quite different from some other places we've been to where much was cut out of, volcanic rock and stone and those types of things. Here, everything was built with dried blocks of dirt. But you can see here the little bit of uncovering that they've done here on the side really kind of shows that this was definitely a structure And even though it's overgrown now with dirt and trees, that this would have been a pretty impressive looking monument at the time. So I just made my way up to the top of a look-off point here, about halfway through the archaeological area. What you're looking at out here is private property that houses one of the other major structures. It's hard to see from here because of the trees, but one of the other larger monuments was just sort of up around this corner. So I just made it over to the museum here that's on the site, and it's really interesting. There's a lot of, it's not a big museum, but there's lots of stuff in it. Here's an example of some of the things that they have found on some of these sites. Some pottery, more arrowheads, things like that. Welcome to Lake Yohoa here in Honduras. So the lake on this side actually got quite a bit of like this swampy kind of marshland stuff here. That's why the town doesn't come down to the lake. I hope you enjoyed the park. It was pretty awesome. Again, if you're in Los Naranjos or in the Lake Yohoa area, I definitely recommend coming and check out the park here. It's right on the town. You can't miss it. Absolutely worth the $10 fee. In the number 4 spot is the Museum of Honduras in San Pedro Sula. So San Pedro Sula, of course, is notorious. It's well known in the history and throughout the news over the years. It used to be a very dangerous city, lots of crime, lots of problems. But I was very lucky and very fortunate that I got to go to San Pedro Sula and check it out. It is nothing like what the news has said. That news is very outdated now, more than 10 years, 15 years. For example, there are now 30 cities in the United States that have a higher rate of crime than San Pedro Sula, which used to be the #1 crime city in the world for many years. So big efforts have been made within the city to change the security in the city and bring more to the people that live there. So while I was in San Pedro Sula, I went to the Museum of Honduras, and it was an amazing space. I had the entire museum to myself for the most part. I think there was a couple people that showed up just as I was sort of wrapping up. But this was a place that was incredible. It felt like stepping back in time. The museum itself had so many interesting exhibits about the history of the Lenca, the history of the Maya, the modernization of the country over the years, and so forth. Let's have a look at some of the clips from spot number 4, the Museum of Honduras. All right, we are in the museum. It was 125 lempira for tourists. So here's just a reference map. And here's where we are, sort of here in the Ulua zone. Some photographs and discussions on an archaeological dig that happened here in an area called Curuste. And they discovered this pottery that was here, de Curuste. And they took all the pieces that looked like this, and they put it all back together, and they wound up with this statue. Some examples of some of the different animals that were used for decorations and whistles and other ornaments throughout history here. There's some examples here of things that were made out of obsidian in the region. So they would take large obsidian pieces that they would find and then splinter them off and make things like arrowheads and blades, things that needed to be sharp, needles, those types of things. This stuff was all happening here 1,000 years before the Maya. Some more example here, some sculpture that they found here between 800 and 400 AD. Talking about parts of entire bodies, figures. There's a figure of Olmec that is believed to have been what this statue here would have been. And then they obviously have more things here. On top of that, late pre-classic pottery, so 300 BC to 250 AD. It's a cool little museum. I wasn't sure what to expect, to be honest. A lot of people don't come to San Pedro Sula for a variety of reasons, but I wanted to come and check this out because it was, it's only a couple blocks from the main square, and it's a cool little spot. I would, if you're in town and you're looking for something to come check out, this little museum is pretty neat. You know, talking about the Mayan history, and that they did write down a lot of things, but unfortunately when the Spanish arrived, they burned most of those books. So there was only, I believe, 2 or 3 actual original codices still left in the world today. And that's it, after the thousands and thousands and thousands of them that would have been written over the years. And so they got a couple examples here of what these would have looked like. So this is actually a book of codices, and it was actually a spillage of these books, which would have had pictures and stories and so much history that's been completely lost. Yeah, it's good that, you know, this kind of museum is here. Again, I'm the only person here, so come by if you want to come and check out a place on your own. But it's a great place to come and kind of see, you know, that history that continued on in other parts of Central America that are, you know, sort of less popular, I guess, today. These paintings are really good at doing a good job of telling the story as time progresses here. So looking at this painting, so this says this is between 1690 and 1745. So you can see obviously more domestication, more Spanish influence, those types of things are happening. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for something to come and check out here in the city. It's only a couple of blocks from the main square there where the cathedral and stuff is, and it's a really cool spot. Lots of history, lots of information, lots of it in Spanish, so take your time if you want to do translation with your phone or whatever. But yeah, a wealth of information here about a town and a city and an area that a lot of people aren't familiar with. In spot number 3, it was Jasper's Animal Rescue and Veterinary on Utila Island in Honduras. Utila is one of these islands that's sort of offshore on the Atlantic side of Honduras. Roatan is another one of the islands that's there. It's much bigger. That's where a lot of tourist ships, cruise ships, and those types of things go there. Utila, however, was a really beautiful spot. It was sort of very laid back. Didn't really feel like Honduras, the mainland, at all. It was very different in some ways, but it was just a great time. And while I was there, one of the stops I made was Jasper's Animal Rescue. I had heard about this place that they allowed, you know, people could volunteer dog walk and those types of things. I arrived too late in the day for the dog walking portion, but I still was fortunate enough to get a little walkthrough of the place, hang out with some of the animals that were there. And if you know me at all, I'm an animal lover. I used to have 2 cats that I had for many, many years. And everywhere I go, I always try and have a little bit of, you know, dog treats or cat treats and stuff that I can give to animals that are, you know, on the street or not doing so well. But Jasper's was a beautiful spot. It was doing a really great job of helping all of the wild and abandoned animals on the island. Utila doesn't have, you know, when you go a lot of places, you see a lot of stray animals, stray dogs. Utila doesn't have that. They all live at Jasper's. So Jasper's was awesome. Let's have a look at some of the clips from my stop at Jasper's Animal Rescue in spot number 3.
So we're just up here at Jasper's Animal Hospital and Rescue, and I say we because I've already made a new friend. So if you do want to come up to Jasper's here in Utila and do some volunteer dog walking with them, they have it from Monday to Saturday, 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. in the mornings, and then from 4 to 5:30 in the afternoons. If you want to just come up and hang out with some cool cats, you can do that too. They actually have a couple of customers inside at the moment, veterinary customers. So I'm not going to bother going inside and, you know, asking them for an interview or anything like that. But it is very good work that they do here, of course. A lot of places you go and visit in this part of the world, there's very little care given for animals. So to see somewhere like this doing such a great job is pretty awesome, right?
Here we only have the ones that either like have a special like treatment or anything, so that's why we keep these cages here.
Yep.
So for example, Pimienta, was having a really bad stomach infection. On schedule, that's why like at 2, we usually like you see like all the cats here because they know this is the place where they you know have food, they have water, they have a clean space where they can come and that is safe from predators. So as I said before, all of our cats are free roam.
Wow. So I actually did end up getting a little bit of a tour of the place, which was fantastic. You know, just a few little shots there, some of the animals and stuff. I didn't really want to do too much filming inside, but I am out here now in the cat hangout area, and yeah, already making some friends. Hi. Psst, 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 psst. So, if you would like to come and help out Jasper's, as I mentioned earlier, they do have the dog walking schedule. They also offer this space to come and hang out with the cats if you prefer the cat option. There are loads of free roam cats here. They're all had their treatments and everything. Some are, you know, far more approachable than others. But anyway, if you want to come up here and check them out, please do. They also do adoption programs, both here in Honduras and as far away as the US and Canada. So you can also get in touch with them to do some adoption if you'd like to do that. And but it's a great spot. Very good work that they're doing here. And the people that are here are very passionate about what they do. All right. Anyway, I'm going to hang out here for a little bit, and then we're going to head out to our next destination. Anyway, I could stay here all day and sit with the cats. It would be very easy for me to do. But I'm going to put a link here on the website to Jasper's website, where you can find out more information about the different programs that they have. You can come in and volunteer, you can donate, and you can adopt. And it's a, you know, privately run volunteer shelter. So they're doing really good work here, and I hope you support them.
In spot number 2, we have Copan Ruinas in Copan, Honduras. Copan Ruinas was another Mayan city. This one, however, was a little bit different than most of them because the city had been built with a different type of rock. So much of the detail in the stela and the building designs and even in the colors that were used on the rocks still remain today. Beautiful space, not very busy at all, and a great collection of the ruined city. What made it even more impressive, however, was their museum. They have been slowly building out a wonderful collection in this giant open air building of some of the pieces from some of the ruins, bringing them inside to protect them from the weather, and just an amazing space to walk around and see some of the creations that still remain. In the middle of that building is a full-size recreation of one of the temples they have found at the ruins of Copan. So let's have a look at some of the clips from my time at Copan Ruinas, number 2 in Honduras.
So we're only, you know, a very short distance from the actual ruins town itself. But you can see here clearly like some of the design and stuff that's been uncovered. And this is where it was found, along with a tomb underneath it. It's their feeding station. So I know that they talked about here in the mornings they have 2 sets of feeding times here, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, but these guys are obviously still hungry. So we're out here in the main ceremonial square to start, where, as is almost always the case, there's a large pyramid-shaped temple in the middle. This is identified as Stela number 4. It's actually got a much more prominent feature. You look at the side-on view, you know, it's much more intricately carved. I would say it was probably reconnected right about there in the middle. These are absolutely, without a doubt, the most well-preserved stela and artifacts that I've seen, I think, in any site out of the more than dozen that I've been to. So, of course, we have here one of the most instantly recognizable pieces to any Mayan city. That is the Pelota court. Just incredibly well preserved, with all the seating area around to watch, and temple buildings here up on the tops. So this is in my opinion, the most impressive temple in the entire Mayan Empire. And if you look at all these stones, you'll notice that they all have individual carvings on them. Mayan characters. And so what this was, it's what is known as Temple 26. Temple 26 is what's known as the Great Hieroglyphic Staircase. So this temple has 64 steps in total, plus it's got carvings and characters along the way up. This told an entire story in 26 steps. Each stone carved with individual Mayan hieroglyphs that told a story. And when this place was initially restored, they put all the stones back in just kind of how they fit. Only then did they discover that they were out of order and that there was in fact a story to be told. So this is currently, as you can see here, fully covered over. And that is because they are trying to reassemble the stairs in the correct order. Just making my way up the stairs here, so we're just coming up. Again, there's the Pelota Court, Temple 26, and we're just coming across here, up around, up these stairs to the top. There's a unique ancient artifact. You don't see at every temple, a leaf blower. So I'm just up here at the top of Temple 11. There's a path you can follow to walk across the top. And I came across this wall, which every stone is painted different colors. So this is temple or building 22A here in Copan. And it was what's known as the assembly house, I guess is the best way to call it. Or another name for it would have been the council house. And this is where meetings would have been held inside. And again, you can see all the multicolored stones on the front facing. And here is the head of the jaguar god, which is why these are called the stairs of the jaguar god. This was actually recovered, I believe, initially right up by this tree, based on an old photo that I saw, which I'll put on the screen. So we're just here at Temple 16, which is just sort of here in front of me. And I'll show you a quick look of the building itself. And so what's really fascinating about this place is that when they dug it up, they actually found a smaller temple inside the building on multiple layers. So there initially was this platform, and then there was a temple built on top of it. And then over time, they then covered it over with the larger temple as a whole. This is where we initially came in over here to get our tickets. And over on this side is the Museum of Sculptures. So this building is designed sort of the Mayan historical thoughts in mind. And the bats are free. This is really cool. It's like going into the Batman's Batcave. Literally, because there's bats. That's probably a terrible joke. I'll take that out later. So they call this Rosalia, was officially the name of it. And it was built around 550 AD. And so when they opened up Temple 16, this is what they found inside. And so they've actually done a full-size recreation of it here. We're going to take a walk around because a lot of the original artifacts are in here and some that are even better preserved. Another amazingly detailed altar table. And this is one of the best maintained altar tables of the Mayan Empire in the world. Just unbelievable care and detail here. This museum is 100% worth the extra money. This is a recreation
of the bird that would have been on the original ball court. And it actually still exists today. It's just in a very precarious sort of situation where it's too fragile to move the original. But they confirmed, obviously, with the paint that they found on it, that they were able to recreate it here with the same colors and everything to give you an idea of exactly what it would have looked like at the time. I have to say that of the 12 or 13 different sites that I've been to in the past year, I think this might be my favorite. Just in terms of the quality of the site itself, how, you know, it wasn't super busy, which was nice. And then this amazing museum here that contains so much stuff from the site, and the restoration efforts and the care that's being done here is truly remarkable. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I could never go to Honduras, or I would never imagine visiting somewhere like that. It's absolutely worth it. If you're in Guatemala, it's only an hour away. If you're in Belize, it's only a couple hours away. Yeah, what a remarkable place. And the care that's being done here to restore and maintain this stuff for, you know, future generations is some of the best I've ever seen. And my number one spot for my entire month in Honduras, Maca Mountain in Copan. So Copan was an amazing introduction to the country. It's a beautiful city. I had a wonderful stay when I was there, and I got to go both to the ruins, to Maca Mountain, and see many other things within the city. So it's a very special place, one that I will definitely return to one day, and easily my number one pick was Maca Mountain. So this was a bird sanctuary up on the hill just outside the city, and it was like no place that I had ever been before. It was quiet. There were so many animals and birds, some free to roam, some that were, you know, being protected because they were hurt or they, you know, couldn't be released back into the wild. The people that were working there were very wonderful, and I just had an amazing time. There's a nice little cafe there at the end. You could sit with all the birds kind of around you, and some of them definitely, I think, trying to steal some of my food, but that's fine. And it was just a really peaceful, tranquil moment along my travels, that one that I will remember for a very long time. So, without further ado, let's have a look at my number one pick for my best moments in Honduras in 2025, Maca Mountain. So we're gonna go down here, find a tuk-tuk to get us up to the sanctuary, and let's go check out Maca Mountain. Welcome to Maca Mountain. This is the main building when you come in. This place already sounds amazing, so I'm very excited. I just paid at the front there. You get a yellow bracelet, well, at least it's yellow today, and it was 250 lempira. You come out here and go left, go down the hill, walk all the way around, and come back up, and you finish over here. So let's head and have a look. You're free to explore. You don't. There's no not like a tour or anything involved with this, so you can just kind of wander about, which is what I love. So these are Amazonian albifrons, and it looks like each cage has a different species of bird, talking about, you know, their history, where they come from, all that sort of stuff. White-fronted Amazon in English. Some of these rainbow macaws, which are famous. I think they're actually the official bird here in Honduras. These boys are huge. These are green macaws. Hey, buddy. Oh my God, he's loud. Hi. You can see just how beautiful the surroundings are here too, with the running river right along the side of this place. Having them here within, you know, this natural surrounding is just incredible. Blue and yellow macaws. Oh my God, they're beautiful. Hi. Here, Red Lord Amazon. Another shot of the river that's here. Oof. This place is incredible. So some of the birds, obviously, are free, and some are caged, obviously, depending on their current situation. These guys are here, sitting here, trying to show me who's boss. So we're just making our way up, and this is actually the feeding center that they have here with a bunch of baby macaws. So they got the actual egg incubators here. And then there's babies in those buckets. I can see a couple of them sticking their heads out. And this kind of gives you an idea of their timeline and how big they get. I'm here on a Monday, and there's very few people here. It's very peaceful, very quiet, and definitely somewhere you should come and check out when you come to Copan Ruinas. I fully admit that I keep forgetting to turn my camera on because I'm just so enamored with the birds and the peacefulness of this place. Just here at the end of getting towards the end of the tour here, and they've got this little display area set up here where you can come and get some pictures done with the birds and get up pretty close to them. Just don't touch them. But they, all kinds of them here, and they're beautiful birds. So I just stopped here. They have a little cafe here at Macaw Mountain if you want to grab some food or a snack. Some really nice local coffee. I got a papaya drink and some baleadas with eggs, which come with like beans and stuff. They're like a little tortilla. They're delicious. And they gave me a water gun just in case this guy or one of the other ones decides to try and show up and steal some of my food, which I think is hilarious and awesome at the same time. I feel like I'm being watched very closely. So if you're in Copan Ruinas and you're here for the ruins, make sure that you take a couple hours or a day or whatever to come over and check out Macaw Mountain. This place is unbelievable. It's beautiful. It's good work. You know, obviously helping all these birds, and price is extremely reasonable, all things considered, when the amount of work and effort and cost that would go into a place like this. It's a lovely walk through the rainforest with the river running in the background, and of course all these beautiful birds that I've seen today and I've been able to share with you. So there you have it. My favorite moments from my time in Honduras in 2025. Again, as I mentioned, I get to make 7 stops across the country. Had a wonderful time when I was there. Everyone was so friendly and helpful. And it was just a really cool experience to be somewhere that a lot of people don't visit for whatever reason. And it turned out to be one of those places that will stay with me for a long time. I really hope you liked this recap. If you did, leave a like or a comment down below to let me know that you were here. Let me know your thoughts on some places in Honduras that maybe you've been to that I didn't have on my list. If you'd like to support me further, there are a few different ways you can do that. I have just relaunched my new Patreon, which you can go over. There are 6 tiers now available. The cheapest starting at just $1 per month. That's the taco level. And yeah, I would really appreciate it. You're under no obligation to do so, but certain levels get you early access to commercial-free videos that will be on YouTube the next day, one-on-one chats, those types of things. I also have a couple of donation links available, one for PayPal and one for Bitcoin. Again, no obligation, but I do all this by myself. I'm totally self-funded. I've taken no money from anyone else. And so anything you can provide obviously goes directly back into this project, and I would really appreciate it. And remember, life is short. Wander. And I'll see you in the next video when we recap our time in Nicaragua.